All right, let's talk about something that pretty much every IB student loses sleep over: grade boundaries. We're going to break down how your final grade is really put together, and, more importantly, how you can use that information to give yourself a serious edge. So let's just cut right to the chase. This is the question, right? The one everyone wants to know. What raw score, what percentage do you actually need to get that coveted 7? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. The answer is probably not what you think it is. And understanding it, it's a complete game changer. So here's our game plan. We're going to tackle that big 7-pointer question head on. We'll define what grade boundaries even are, walk step by step through how your score is calculated, and then we'll get to the good stuff, how this gives you a strategic advantage. And of course, we'll bust some of those classic IB myths along the way. Okay, first things first, we're cracking the code on that top score. Because that magic number for a 7, well, it isn't some fixed target you have to hit. It's actually a moving target, and we're about to see why. And the reason it moves all comes down to this core concept: grade boundaries. You've heard the term, but what does it really mean? Think of it as the IB's secret sauce for making the whole system fair, no matter which year you take your exams. So what are they? In simple terms, they're just the minimum scores you need to get for each grade, from a 1 all the way up to a 7. But here's the really crucial part, the bit you have to remember. They are set after all the exams are marked. This is what allows the IB to adjust for how difficult your specific exam paper was. Okay, let's make this less abstract. Take a look at these sample boundaries for Chem HL. To get a 7, you might need a 76%. But look at this. For a 6, it drops all the way to 64%. And for a 5, you only need about 52% of the marks. This is literally the system in action, turning your raw percentage into that final 1 to 7 score. But why do they move around so much? Why aren't they just fixed? Well, a few big things are at play. If an exam paper turns out to be way harder than usual, guess what? The boundaries will probably drop. If a question was worded poorly and confused everyone, they'll account for that. They even look at how the entire group of students around the world performed and consider if any recent syllabus changes made things trickier. It's a really dynamic process. All right, section 3. Now that we know what boundaries are, let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how your final score gets put together, piece by piece. It's really just a 4-step process. First, an examiner marks your papers, your IA, everything, and gives you raw marks. Simple enough. Second, those marks are weighted. So your paper 1 might be worth 20%, your IA another 20%, you get the idea. Third, once all those weighted scores are tallied up from students everywhere, senior examiners step in and set the grade boundaries for that session. And finally, your total score gets compared to those boundaries, and boom, that's how you get your final 1 to 7 grade. Okay, pay attention, because this is where it gets really powerful. Understanding this stuff isn't just about satisfying your curiosity. Nope, it gives you a massive, massive strategic advantage in how you study. And this slide right here is maybe the most important takeaway of this whole thing. You do not need 90 or 95% to get a 7. Seriously, in most subjects, that top grade usually lands somewhere in the 70 to 80% range. And in some of the really tough subjects, it can dip as low as 65%. So what does that mean? It means you don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes and still get a top grade. Now let's talk about your IA, because this right here shows why it's your secret weapon. Let's imagine the boundary for a 7 is 76% total. The student who absolutely nailed their IA and got full marks, they might only need a 70% on their final exams. But the student with a weaker IA now has to pull off almost 78% on those same exams. That is a huge difference. A strong IA creates a safety net for you. So how do you put this into action? Well, you can look up past grade boundaries to set realistic goals for yourself. When you do a practice paper, you can see exactly how many more marks you need to jump from a 6 to a 7. This helps you focus your studying on the topics that'll make the biggest difference. And honestly, the best part? It helps manage that exam stress, because you know you have some breathing room. You don't need a perfect paper. Okay, for our last section, let's do some rapid-fire myth busting. We're going to separate the fact from the fiction you've probably heard in the school hallways. This one's a classic. The idea that the IB grades on a bell curve, and they've got some kind of quota that limits how many students can get a 7. I'm sure you've heard it. Well, the truth is, that's just not how it works. It's not a curve. The boundaries are set based on the difficulty of the exam. Period. In theory, if every single student wrote an amazing paper that met the standard for a 7, then every single student would get a 7. They don't cap it. Okay, next up. This big assumption that you can just look at what the boundaries were last year and know exactly what you need this year. But in reality, they move around every single exam session. And it's not always just a little bit. They can shift by 5, sometimes even 10 marks. So, last year's data? It's a helpful guide, for sure. But it is not a guarantee. Never assume it's going to be the same for you. And finally, there's this myth that the predicted grade your teacher gives you somehow plays a role in what the final grade boundaries end up being. Let's just be crystal clear on this one. Your predicted grade has absolutely zero, zilch, nada to do with how the final boundaries are set. That prediction is for one thing and one thing only, your university applications. Your final grade is all about your performance on the exams in the IA. That's it. So there you have it. We've pulled back the curtain on the whole system. And what we learned? That it's not about being perfect. It's about being smart and strategic. You now know your IA is your best friend, and that the system is actually designed to be fair. So the only question left is, now that you know the rules of the game, how are you going to play it?